Good morning. This is a travel log from America, from San Francisco, actually. And it's all about the famous prison called Alcatraz. After the heat of the day in downtown San Francisco, where we had driven down the most twisted street in the world, hopped on and off the famous San Francisco streetcars, expecting any minute the cop car, siren screaming, driven by Michael Douglas in the film Streets of San Francisco, to come hurtling up the steep-sided street, giving chase to a hardened criminal. Visited Chinatown, which immediately seemed to transport me back to Hong Kong, and caught a glimpse of the famous Cow Palace. Here we were down at the waterfront, waiting to catch the boat over to the infamous prison island of Alcatraz, better known as the Rock. It was late afternoon and the heat of the day had passed. A cool breeze from the water lifted our spirits. Then before we knew it, we were on board the small jet boat and heading out towards Alcatraz. Alcatraz was set up as a prison within the American prison system in 1934 in order to send men there that other prisons would not cope with, men like Al Capone, Alvin, Creepy, Carpus, Leon Thompson, better known as Whitey, and the most famous of all, Robert Stroud, better known as the Birdman of Alcatraz. But on Alcatraz, prisoners were not given the dignity of being known by their names, only by their cell numbers. We landed on this rocky island not far from the Golden Gate Bridge and toiled up to the cell block, which stood on the very crest of the rock. All around we could see and hear the sounds of waves lapping, great ships ploughing their way out to sea or into the harbour, hooting their farewells and hellos to the great city of the Golden Bridge. The scream of gulls and jets overhead and the faint sight and sounds of the city we had left behind. Everything so near, yet so far away. Before we knew it, we were inside the cell block and faced with iron-barred cells, 2 stories high, like cages in a pet shop. Open cells which afforded no privacy, each equipped with an army cot, mattress, sheets and blanket, a folding table and chair, and on the wall a shelf upon which stood a mug and a toothbrush. No razor, they were considered too dangerous for the prisoners to have in their cells. The dining room was large, with heavily barred windows that afforded the men a view of the city and the harbour, and if the wind was right, they could hear the sounds of music, voices and laughter from mainland parties. All reminders that everything was there for them to see, yet they could not be part of it. Whitey, prison number 1465, stated that when he first went to the Rock, he said he had total hatred inside. I was dead inside. Everybody wants to be an individual, but you're not on the Rock. Alcatraz operates on the basis you will do as you're told and you will get a fair hearing. Many tried to escape from the Rock, but all attempts bar one failed. Even those 3 that escaped in June 1962 were never found, and to this day nobody knows if their bid for freedom was successful or not. Another prisoner stated, "You cannot take away from a man his longing for freedom." Whitey was locked up on Alcatraz for 15 long years. When finally he was released, he said, "I just stood and I watched the world go past. Everybody was going so fast, and someone had somewhere, and everyone seemed to have somewhere to go. I hadn't." All too soon, the siren sounded for the end of the visit, and we wound our way back down to the jetty in order to catch the last boat back to the waterfront. The words of Whitey and the other prisoners rang in my ears. I had total hatred inside. I was dead inside. Everybody wants to be an individual, but you're not on the Rock. You can't take away from a man his longing for freedom. Everybody was going so fast, and everyone had somewhere to go, but I hadn't. All these sentiments point to a deep longing within, a longing to be part of something, a longing for something better, a longing for freedom. This is a longing shared by many in the world, a longing to be part of something better, a longing for something, somewhere to go that has a meaning, a longing to know who you really are, a longing to be accepted. We do not have to be behind prison walls like Alcatraz to have the same feelings that Whitey and the other prisoners had. Jim Sambala, in his book Fresh Wind, Fresh Fire, tells the story of a young girl, the prisoner of abuse, and I quote, "Finally, I hit rock bottom. At the end of a 5 or 6 day crack binge. It was Tuesday night when I ran out of money. For some reason, I drove to the church. That night, I found myself at the altar shedding tears. I could not stop. Oh God, I need you in my life. Help me, please." It was the moment of final surrender for me. From that point on, I began to believe that God loved me, and with this newfound faith came hope and a slowly growing confidence. If you're a prisoner of low self-esteem, if you're struggling with events that happened in the past, if you have a problem with eating disorders or anything else that is holding you like a prisoner, I beg you before it is too late to reach out to Father God and say, "Oh God, I need you in my life. Help me, please." Well, I hope that's made you think, as I say, whether you believe in God or not. But what I would recommend you do, if you are feeling like a prisoner, I would do the course, the life skills course, via the Red Cross in China. It's a very, very good course, and it is being taught at the universities in China. And it is completely, completely non-religious. So I would do it if I were you, and that will help you put your life back into order. Okay, right. Well, I hope that's helped you a little bit. And, have a good life. 再见，我的朋友。